The alarm went off at 8:30, and for a moment, I forgot that anything was wrong. That's the cruelest part about mornings, isn't it? That split second between sleep and waking when your brain hasn't yet remembered all the things that hurt. For maybe 3 heartbeats, I was just a woman waking up on a Sunday morning, engaged to be married, planning brunch with the man I loved. Then I opened my eyes and saw Marcus's side of the bed, already empty and cold. The sheets were pulled tight, tucked in with almost military precision. Nothing like the comfortable mess we usually made of the bed on weekend mornings. No indentation where his head should have been on the pillow. No lingering warmth. He'd been up for hours. I realized maybe he hadn't slept at all. I lay there staring at the ceiling of our apartment, at the crack that ran from the light fixture toward the window that we'd been meaning to fix for months. We'd laughed about it once, Marcus joking that it looked like a lightning bolt, like our bedroom had been blessed by Zeus. I'd kissed him and said maybe it was a good omen for our marriage, electric, powerful, something that would light up the sky. Now that crack just looked like what it was, damage we'd ignored, hoping it wouldn't get worse. I could hear him in the kitchen, the familiar sounds of morning routine, the coffee maker gurgling, the clink of a spoon against ceramic, the refrigerator opening and closing. All of it felt wrong somehow, too quiet, too careful, like he was trying not to wake me or like he was avoiding the moment when he'd have to see me. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from my sister, Jennifer. Can't wait to see you guys today. Tell Marcus I want to hear all about the bachelor party plans. Also, did you decide on the centerpieces? Mom's been asking. I stared at the message, at the casual excitement in her words, and felt something twist in my chest. The wedding. Our wedding. 3 months away now. August 15th, a Saturday, at the Botanical Gardens where Marcus had first told me he loved me. 400 guests invited. Deposits paid. A dress hanging in my closet that cost more than my first car, wrapped in protective plastic, like it was something precious and fragile. Everything was planned. Everything was perfect, except it wasn't. It hadn't been for weeks now, maybe longer. I'd felt it, that subtle shift, like the temperature dropping degree by degree, until suddenly you realize you're freezing, and you can't remember when you last felt warm. I didn't respond to Jennifer's text. Instead, I pulled myself out of bed and padded to the bathroom, avoiding my reflection in the mirror, because I didn't want to see what I looked like. The dark circles I knew would be there, the tightness around my mouth, the way my eyes had started to look haunted, uncertain. The shower was scalding hot, the way I'd been taking them lately, as if I could burn away the anxiety that had become my constant companion, as if I could wash off the feeling that something was ending and I was powerless to stop it. When had it started? I tried to pinpoint the exact moment, but it was like trying to identify when a sunset becomes night. There's no single second, just a gradual darkening, until suddenly you're in the dark, and you can't quite remember what the light looked like. Maybe it was 2 months ago, when Marcus stopped reaching for me in bed. We'd always been affectionate, touchy, the kind of couple that made our friends roll their eyes at how often we held hands or kissed in public. But somewhere along the way, he'd started pulling back. Small things at first. Turn away when I tried to cuddle, cutting kisses short, finding reasons to stay up later than me or wake up earlier. Or maybe it was before that, when he'd started working late more often. Marcus was a senior project manager at a tech firm, and late nights weren't unusual, but these felt different. He'd come home exhausted, distracted, and when I asked about his day, his answers became shorter, vaguer, until eventually I stopped asking. I'd told myself it was just stress. Wedding planning was stressful. Work was demanding. We were both tired. These were the explanations I'd offered up like prayers, desperate to believe them. But then there were the other things, harder to explain away. The way he'd flinch sometimes when I said we, or talked about our future. The way he'd go silent during conversations about the honeymoon, the house we wanted to buy, the kids we'd always said we'd have someday. The way he'd started looking at me was something that felt uncomfortably close to guilt. And last week had been the worst. We'd been at his parents' house for dinner, and his mother had been going on about the wedding, about how excited she was to have a daughter-in-law finally, about the grandchildren she was already imagining. Marcus had gone completely pale, excused himself, and spent 20 minutes in the bathroom. When he came back, he barely spoke for the rest of the evening. I'd known then. In some deep, terrible part of myself, I'd known. But knowing and acknowledging are two different things, aren't they? So I pushed it down, buried it, told myself I was being paranoid and irrational, and that everything was fine, everything was fine, everything was fine. The water was starting to run cold by the time I got out of the shower. I dried off mechanically, pulled on jeans and a soft blue sweater that Marcus used to say made my eyes look pretty, and braided my wet hair over my shoulder. The routine of it was soothing, automatic, like if I just kept doing normal things, everything would be normal. When I finally made it to the kitchen, Marcus was sitting at our small table by the window, staring at his coffee. He'd made a cup for me, too. I noticed. It sat on the counter, probably cold by now. The gesture felt both kind and cruel. Considerate enough to make me coffee, but not enough to bring it to me, to come find me, to bridge the distance that had grown between us. Morning, I said, trying to sound casual, normal, like my heart wasn't beating too fast. He looked up, and there was again that expression I've been seeing more and more lately. Something between sadness and resignation, and something else I couldn't quite name. Determination, maybe, like he'd made a decision he knew was going to hurt. Morning, he replied. His voice was hoarse, rough, like maybe he'd been crying or hadn't slept. I made coffee. I see that. Thanks. I poured the cold coffee down the sink and made a fresh cup, just for something to do with my hands. The silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. Once upon a time, our silences had been easy, companionable. Now they felt like minefields. So, Brunch 11? I asked, keeping my back to him as I stirred milk into my coffee. At the garden room? Yeah. A pause. Emma, Jennifer's excited to see us. I interrupted, talking too fast, desperate to keep him from finishing whatever sentence he'd started. She texted this morning asking about the bachelor party. I think she's planning to grill you about it. You know how she gets. Emma. And my mom's apparently still obsessing over centerpieces. I swear, you'd think we were planning a state dinner instead of a wedding. I told her the peonies would be beautiful, but she's worried about them wilting in August heat. So now she wants... Emma, stop. I stopped, froze, actually, with my coffee cup halfway to my lips, staring at the wall above the sink where we'd hung a calendar with our wedding date circled in red, with all the little tasks and appointments marked in my handwriting. Cake tasting, final dress fitting, marriage license, rehearsal dinner. We need to talk, Marcus said behind me, and those 4 words, those 4 simple, terrible words, made my hand start shaking. Okay, I whispered. Not now. At brunch. I need to tell you something. And I think it's better if we're out somewhere public. Public. Somewhere public. Because what? Because he thought I'd make a scene? Because he didn't trust himself or me or us in the privacy of our own home? Because he wanted witnesses or buffers or some kind of safety net for whatever bomb he was about to drop? I turned around slowly, made myself look at him. Really look at him. Marcus at 32 was still handsome, with his dark hair always slightly too long, his green eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled, though he hadn't been smiling much lately. He was wearing a gray button-down shirt I'd bought him for his birthday, and jeans, and he looked tired. So tired, like carrying whatever he needed to tell me had been exhausting him for days, weeks, maybe longer. Can't you just tell me now? I asked, even though I didn't want to know. Part of me wanted to stay in this moment forever, suspended in uncertainty, because at least in uncertainty there was still hope. No, he said softly. I can't. I'm sorry. Let's get through the morning, okay? Let's go to brunch. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to demand he tell me right now. Wanted to shake the truth out of him. Wanted to beg him not to say whatever he was planning to say. But instead, I just nodded, because what else could I do? Okay, I said again. Brunch at 11. He nodded back, and we stood there in our kitchen, in the apartment we'd shared for 2 years, surrounded by all the accumulated debris of our life together. Photos on the fridge, his jacket on the back of a chair, my gardening book stacked on the counter, the coffee maker we'd received as an engagement gift, And we were strangers. Two people who'd promised forever to each other, who'd planned a whole life together, standing 6 feet apart and unable to bridge the distance. I took my coffee and retreated to the living room, curling up in the corner of our couch with a book I couldn't focus on. Marcus stayed in the kitchen. The apartment was silent except for the ticking of the clock on the wall, counting down the minutes until 11 o'clock, until the garden room, until whatever truth Marcus was going to tell me in public, because he couldn't tell me in private. The worst part was that I already knew, on some level, in some deep, primal part of myself that understood things before my conscious mind was willing to accept them. I already knew. I could feel it, like you can feel a storm coming before the first drop of rain falls, like you can feel winter before the first snow. This was the end. Whatever happened at brunch, whatever words Marcus said in that public place with its white tablecloths and mimosas and Sunday morning crowd, this was the end of us. I just spent the last few weeks pretending it wasn't. Part 2. The drive at 10:45, we got in Marcus's car for the drive to the garden room. It was only 15 minutes away, in the trendy downtown district where all the brunch places had started popping up over the last few years. Places with exposed brick and reclaimed wood, and menus that featured things like artisanal and farm-to-table and cost twice what they should. But the garden room was our place. We'd been going there since our second date, when Marcus had been trying to impress me and I'd been trying to figure out if this handsome, funny man who'd approached me at a bookstore was someone I could actually fall in love with. Turned out he was. I'd fallen hard and fast, and so had he, or so I thought. Now, sitting in the passenger seat of his Honda, I stared out the window at the passing streets and tried to remember what it felt like in the beginning. That giddy, electric feeling of new love. The way my stomach would flip when he texted. The way I'd find excuses to touch him. A hand on his arm, fingers brushing when we reached for the same thing. The way he'd look at me like I was something precious and unexpected, like he couldn't quite believe his luck. You remember our second date? I asked suddenly, breaking the silence that had filled the car since we'd left the apartment. Marcus's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Emma, you were so nervous, I continued, ignoring the warning in his tone. You knocked over your water glass when you were trying to get the waiter's attention. Soaked the whole table. You were mortified. I remember, he said quietly, and I laughed. And you thought I was laughing at you, and you got all flustered and apologetic. But I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing because you were so earnest about it, so genuinely upset about a little spilled water. I thought it was sweet. Emma, please. You told me that day that you'd been thinking about me all week, that you'd walked past that bookstore 3 times hoping to run into me again before you finally got up the nerve to ask for my number. You said, my voice cracked, and I had to pause, swallow hard. You said you'd never felt this way about anyone before, that you thought I might be it for you. I meant it, Marcus said, and his voice was rough with emotion. When I said it, I meant it. When he said it, past tense, like those feelings were ancient history, like they belonged to a different person, a different Marcus who'd existed before this one, this stranger who wouldn't look at me. What changed? I asked, and I was proud of how steady my voice was, how I wasn't crying yet, even though I could feel the tears building behind my eyes like a dam about to break. When did you stop meaning it? It's not. He stopped at a red light and finally looked at me. His eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. It's not that simple. Then make it simple. Try. Please, just try to help me understand. The light turned green. Marcus drove through the intersection, past the coffee shop where we'd spent countless Saturday mornings, past the park where we'd walked his sister's dog, past the corner where he'd kissed me for first time while waiting for the light to change. I don't know if I can explain it in a way that will make sense, he said finally. I don't know if I even understand it myself. Try anyway. He was quiet for a long moment, navigating through the increasing downtown traffic. It was a beautiful day, unseasonably warm for May, and everyone seemed to be out. People walking dogs, families with strollers, couples holding hands on their way to brunch or shopping or whatever happy things couples did on Sunday mornings. It was gradual, Marcus said eventually. Like I woke up one day and realized I'd been going through the motion for a while without even noticing. Planning the wedding, talking about the future, all of it. It started to feel like a play I was acting instead of my actual life. When I demanded, my voice harder now. When did it start feeling like that? I don't know exactly. A few months ago? Maybe longer? It's not like there was a specific moment where I suddenly stopped loving you, Emma. It was more like, he paused, searching for words. Like realizing you've been driving in the wrong direction for miles, and you don't know where the wrong turn happened. You just know you're not where you're supposed to be. And you didn't think to say anything? To tell me you were feeling this way? To give us a chance to fix it? I kept thinking it would pass, he admitted. That it was just cold feet, just stress, just, I don't know, just something temporary. I kept waiting for the feeling to come back. What feeling? The wanting to marry you feeling, he said bluntly, and the words hit me like a physical blow. I turned back to the window, focusing on my breathing, trying not to fall apart in the car. We were almost there now. I could see the garden room up ahead, its cheerful yellow awning, the little iron tables out front where people sat in good weather. There was already a crowd waiting for tables. I noticed it was always busy on Sundays. Marcus pulled into a parking spot down the street, killed the engine, and we sat there in sudden silence. Why did you propose to me? I asked, staring straight ahead, not looking at him. If you didn't really want to marry me, why did you ask? I did want to marry you, he insisted. Emma, I swear, when I proposed, I wanted it. I wanted you. I wanted all of it. I thought, he made a frustrated sound. I thought I was ready. I thought this was what I wanted, what we both wanted. Everyone was so happy for us. My parents, your parents, all our friends. The proposal was perfect, and you were so happy, and I was happy too. I was, but somewhere between then and now, something changed. Or maybe I'm the one who changed. I don't know. All I know is that every time someone talks about the wedding, I feel like I can't breathe. Every time I think about walking down that aisle, about standing up in front of all those people and making those promises, he stopped, his voice breaking. I can't do it. I can't marry you feeling like this. I closed my eyes, pressed my forehead against the cool glass of the window. A couple walked past on the sidewalk, young and laughing, the woman leaning into the man, his arm around her waist. They looked the way Marcus and I used to look. Happy, sure, like their love was the easiest thing in the world. You're going to break up with me, I said. It wasn't a question. Emma, in there, in the garden room, our place, in front of all those people. You're going to end it. I don't want to do it this way, he said miserably. I hate that it has to be like this. But I can't keep pretending everything's okay. I can't keep going through the motions. It's not fair to you. Not fair to me? I turned to look at him then, and I didn't care that tears were streaming down my face now. You think breaking up with me in a public restaurant is the fair thing to do? You think this... I gestured wildly at nothing, at everything, at the wreckage of our relationship. Is fair? I think it's fairer than marrying you when I don't love you anymore, he said quietly, and there it was. The truth I'd been avoiding, the words I'd been dreading. I don't love you anymore. 5 words. Simple, declarative, final. I don't love you anymore. How long? I asked, how long have you not loved me? I don't know. Guess. Emma, guess, Marcus. A month? 2 months? 3? Did you love me at Christmas? Did you love me on my birthday in March? Did you love me last week when we had dinner with your parents and your mother was going on about grandchildren? When did you stop? He was crying now too, I realized, silent tears running down his face that he didn't bother to wipe away. I don't know, he repeated. I wish I could tell you. I wish there was a specific day or moment I could point to and say, that's when it ended. But there isn't. It just faded, like a photograph left in the sun too long. One day I looked at us and realized the color was gone. We sat there in his car, both crying, separated by the center console and by something much bigger, the unbridgeable gap between loving someone and not loving them, between wanting a future together and wanting out. I need to know something, I said finally, my voice thick with tears. Is there someone else? No, he said immediately, firmly. Emma, I swear to you, there's no one else. This isn't about another woman. This is about me, about what I feel or don't feel, about realizing I can't marry someone I'm not in love with anymore. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. But I also knew that people lied, that sometimes there were things worse than infidelity, like falling out of love for no reason at all, like love just ending the way seasons change, inevitable and beyond anyone's control. We should go in, Marcus said after a while, his voice hoarse. Jennifer's probably already there. She'll worry if we're late. You're really going to do this, I said, in front of my sister, in front of everyone. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. But I can't pretend anymore. I can't keep lying to you, to everyone. I need to tell you the truth, and then I need to go. Go? I'm going to stay with Jake for a while. I already talked to him, until we figure out the apartment, the stuff, all the logistics. Logistics? He'd already planned it all out, already arranged where he'd stay, already figured out his exit strategy. While I'd been clinging to hope, to the delusion that everything was fine, he'd been planning his escape. I'd lost him already, I realized. Maybe I'd lost him weeks ago, months ago, and I'd just been too stupid or too desperate to see it. This brunch, this conversation we were about to have, it wasn't the end. It was just the official announcement of an end that had already happened. Okay, I said numbly. Let's go then. Let's get this over with. I got out of the car before he could respond, before I could see whatever expression was on his face. Pity, guilt, relief, some combination of all three. I walked toward the garden room on legs that felt disconnected from my body, like I was piloting myself from somewhere far away, watching this happen to someone else. Behind me, I heard Marcus get out of the car, heard his footsteps on the sidewalk as he followed me. But he didn't try to catch up, didn't try to take my hand or put his arm around me the way he would have just a few months ago. We walked to the restaurant separately. Two people who'd once been inseparable, who'd planned to spend the rest of their lives together, now unable to even walk side by side. The hostess greeted us with a bright smile when we entered, not noticing or not caring that we'd both clearly been crying. Good morning. Welcome to the garden room. Do you have a reservation? Yes, Marcus said. Under Coleman. For 3. Perfect. I see it right here. Your third party hasn't arrived yet, but I can seat you now if you'd like. Sure, I said when Marcus didn't respond. That's fine. She led us to the crowded restaurant, past tables full of happy people eating their eggs Benedict and sipping their mimosas, past the large windows that let in streams of golden sunlight, past the actual garden that gave the place its name, a beautiful indoor courtyard with real trees and flowers and a small fountain. We'd talked about having our wedding reception here once, before we'd settled on the botanical gardens. Imagine dancing under these trees, I'd said, and Marcus had kissed my temple and said, anywhere with you would be perfect. Lies. All of it lies, or at least truths that had expired. Promises that had a shelf life I hadn't known about. The hostess seated us at a table by the window, handed us menus, promised our server would be right with us. Then she left, and it was just Marcus and me, sitting across from each other at a table for 3, waiting for my sister, so he could destroy my life in public. I picked up the menu even though I knew it by heart, just for something to do with my hands. The words blurred on the page. I couldn't have said what any of the specials were if someone had offered me $1 million. Emma, Marcus started, but I held up a hand. Don't. Not yet. Wait until Jennifer gets here. Isn't that the plan? Tell me in public. In front of witnesses? So let's wait for our witness. He flinched but didn't argue. We sat in silence, me staring at a menu I couldn't read, him staring at his hands on the table. The server came by, introduced herself as Michelle, asked if we wanted to start with drinks. I ordered a mimosa, because what the hell did it matter now? Marcus asked for coffee. Black, your third party should be here soon. Michelle asked cheerfully. Yes, I said. My sister. She's usually punctual. Great. I'll give you a few more minutes then. She left, and the silence descended again. Around us, the restaurant hummed with life and conversation and laughter. Someone's baby was crying. A group in the corner was singing Happy Birthday. At the table next to us, a man was down on one knee, holding out a ring box while his girlfriend cried and nodded, and everyone nearby applauded. I watched them, this couple starting their journey just as mine was ending, and I felt something ugly twist in my chest. Not jealousy exactly. More like grief for my younger self, for the woman I'd been when Marcus proposed to me. So full of hope and certainty and stupid, naive faith in forever. Emma, Marcus said again, and this time his voice was so broken, so full of pain that I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. I wish I could hate you, I said softly, still watching the newly engaged couple embracing. I wish I could be angry, furious, could scream and throw things and make a scene. But I just feel empty, like you've already taken everything, and there's nothing left to fight over. I never wanted to hurt you, he whispered. But you are. You're hurting me more than I knew it was possible to be hurt. And you're doing it here now like this, and I don't understand why. What did I do wrong, Marcus? What could I have done differently? Nothing, he said, and he was crying again, tears sliding down his face in the middle of this sunny restaurant. Emma, you didn't do anything wrong. You've been perfect. You're kind and smart and beautiful, and any man would be lucky to... Don't! I cut him off, my voice sharp. Don't you dare give me the "it's not you, it's me" speech. Don't tell me I'm perfect while you're breaking up with me. If I'm so perfect, why don't you love me anymore? He opened his mouth to answer, but before he could, a familiar voice interrupted. There you guys are. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was insane. Jennifer, my sister, sliding into the third chair with her usual energy, tossing her purse onto the empty seat, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. Hey, you okay? You look like you've been crying. I looked at Marcus. He looked back at me. And in that moment, I realized I had a choice. I could let him do this. Could sit here and let him say the words that would end us in front of my sister, in front of all these strangers. Or I could take back some small measure of control. Actually, I said, pulling my hand away from Jennifer's, standing up on shaky legs. I'm not feeling well. I think I need to go. Emma, Marcus started, standing too. No, I said firmly, loudly enough that a few people at nearby tables looked over. Whatever you need to say, you can say it some other time. I'm done. I'm done with this, with you, with all of it. Emma, please let me. But I was already walking away, leaving my purse, leaving the mimosa I'd ordered, leaving everything behind except my dignity, which I gathered around me like armor as I pushed through the crowded restaurant toward the door. I heard Jennifer calling my name, confused. Heard Marcus saying something I couldn't make out. But I didn't stop, didn't look back. I just kept walking out the door onto the sunny street, away from the garden room and the life I thought I was going to have. I made it 3 blocks before I had to stop, leaning against a building, finally letting myself fall apart. People walked past, some glancing at me with curiosity or concern, but mostly just flowing around me like water around a stone, everyone absorbed in their own lives, their own dramas. My phone started ringing. Jennifer, no doubt, demanding to know what was happening, but I couldn't answer it. Couldn't explain what I didn't fully understand myself. So I just stood there on a street corner in downtown, crying on a beautiful Sunday morning, my whole future crumbling like sand through my fingers. And then I heard his voice. Emma. I turned. Marcus was there, must have run after me, breathing hard, looking wrecked and desperate and so sorry. Don't, I said. Please, just don't. I have to, he said. I need to say this. I need you to hear it. Even if you hate me afterward. Especially if you hate me afterward. I'm not going back to that restaurant, I said. I know. That was a stupid plan. I don't know what I was thinking. Can we? He looked around helplessly. Can we just walk? Please? Just let me explain. I should have said no. Should have told him there was nothing left to explain. That his not loving me anymore was explanation enough. But some masochistic part of me needed to hear it. Needed to understand. Needed the closure of whatever truth he'd been carrying around. Fine, I said. We'll walk. But then you leave. You go to Jake's or wherever you planned, and you leave me alone. Okay, he agreed quietly. Okay. So we walked. Part 3. The truth, we ended up at Riverside Park, a place we'd been countless times before. There was a path that ran along the water, usually crowded with joggers and families and people walking their dogs, but today it was relatively quiet. Maybe everyone was at brunch, I thought bitterly. Marcus and I walked side by side, but not touching, maintaining a careful distance, like we were magnetic poles pushing away from each other. The river was calm today, reflecting the blue sky, and it was such a perfect spring day that it felt like an insult. The world had no right to be this beautiful when everything in my life was falling apart. I met someone, Marcus said suddenly, and my heart stopped. You said, I couldn't breathe. You said there wasn't anyone else. There isn't. Not like that. I didn't cheat on you, Emma. I swear I didn't. But I met someone, and talking to her made me realize things I've been trying not to admit to myself. Her. There was a her. A woman who wasn't me, who'd somehow shown Marcus truths about himself or about us that I'd been blind to. Who? I managed to ask. Her name's Rachel. She's a colleague at work, in a different department. We got assigned to the same project about 6 months ago. 6 months. This had been going on for 6 months. We became friends, Marcus continued, his words coming faster now, like he'd been holding them in so long that now they were pouring out. Just friends, Emma, that's all it's been. Coffee breaks, lunch sometimes when the meetings ran long. Talking about work, about life, about nothing and everything. And she's engaged too, getting married in July. So it was never romantic. It was just easy. Talking to her was easy in a way that talking to you had stopped being. I wanted to interrupt, to defend myself, to demand to know when talking to me had become difficult. But I stayed quiet, letting him finish, because I needed to hear all of it. We talked about wedding planning, about how stressful it was, about the pressure from family, all of that. And one day, maybe 3 months ago, she said something that just stuck with me. She said, I love talking about the wedding, but honestly, I'm even more excited about what comes after. The marriage, the life we're building. The wedding is just one day, you know? Marcus stopped walking, turned to face the river. I stopped too, a few feet away, hugging myself even though it wasn't cold. And I realized, he continued softly, that I wasn't excited about what came after. That when I thought about our marriage, about the years stretching ahead of us, I felt. He paused, searching for the word. Trapped. I felt trapped. The word hung in the air between us like something toxic. So all this time, I said slowly, while I was planning our wedding, getting excited about our future, you were feeling trapped? I try not to feel that way, he said desperately. I try to talk myself out of it, try to convince myself it was just nerves, just cold feet. Everyone says wedding planning is stressful, that it makes you question things. I thought once we got through it, once we were married, it would be different, better. But it wasn't going to be better, I said. It wasn't a question. No, he admitted. It was just going to be me, pretending to be happy, pretending to want the life we were building, while feeling more and more suffocated. And that's not fair to you, Emma. You deserve someone who's excited about marrying you, who can't wait to build a life with you, who doesn't feel like he's making a terrible mistake every time he thinks about the future. And this Rachel, I said, trying to keep my voice level, did you fall in love with her? No, he said firmly. Emma, I swear, I didn't fall in love with her. She's a friend. That's all. She's getting married to someone she loves, and I'm happy for her. But talking to her, seeing how excited she was about her future, it just made me realize that I didn't feel that way about ours. And that was on me, not you. That was about something broken in me, or in us, or I don't know. But it wasn't about her. I wanted to believe him. Part of me did believe him. But another part of me wondered if he was lying to himself. If this Rachel was more than just a friend who'd held up a mirror to his true feelings. People rarely acknowledge emotional affairs as affairs. I knew. They told themselves it was just friendship, just connection, just understanding, right up until the moment they realized they'd fallen in love. But maybe it didn't matter. Whether he loved Rachel or not, the end result was the same. He didn't love me. That was the only truth that mattered. When will you even tell me? If I hadn't noticed something was wrong, if we just kept going through the motions, would you have told me before the wedding? Or would you have married me and spent the rest of your life resenting me for it? I don't know, Marcus said miserably. I was trying to work up the courage to tell you, but every time I tried, I'd see how happy you were, or I'd think about how disappointed our families would be, or I'd think about the money we'd already spent on deposits, and I'd chicken out. I kept telling myself I'd do it tomorrow, next week, next month. I was a coward. You are a coward, I agreed, and there was no anger in my voice, just a flat, hollow truth. You let me keep planning, keep dreaming, keep believing in us, while you knew it was over. That's the worst part, Marcus. Not that you fell out of love with me. I guess people can't control their feelings, but that you let me keep hoping. I know, he whispered. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, I said. Sorry doesn't give me back the time I wasted, the emotions I invested, the life I thought we were building together. Sorry is just a word people say when they've hurt someone and they want to feel better about it. We stood there by the river, and I realized that this was it. This was the moment it really ended. Not at the restaurant, not when he'd said he needed to talk, but here, now, with his confession and my acknowledgement and the unbridgeable space between us. What do we do now? Marcus asked after long silence. About the apartment, the wedding, all the... I don't care. I cut him off. You figure it out. You want it out? You're out. You deal with calling the vendors, telling our families, explaining to everyone why we're not getting married. I'm done shouldering your burdens. Emma? No, I'm serious. You said you were going to Jake's? Go. Today. Now. Pack your stuff and leave. I'll stay in the apartment until we figure out what to do with it. But I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to deal with any of this right now. Okay, he said quietly. I can do that. I'll pack some things and go. But, Emma, we'll have to talk eventually. There's so much we need to. Eventually, I agreed, but not now. Not today. Today, you just leave. He nodded, and I could see the relief in his face. Could see how eager he was to escape this conversation, this relationship, me. And that hurt more than anything else. That he was relieved to be ending us. That walking away felt like freedom to him instead of loss. I really did love you, Marcus said, one last desperate attempt at what? Absolution? Understanding? When I proposed, when we moved in together, when we talk about kids and houses and growing old together, I meant all of it. I wanted all of it. Something just changed. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry it changed. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to tell you sooner. I looked at him, really looked at him, and tried to find a man I'd fallen in love with 4 years ago. That man who'd been nervous on our second date, who proposed on a beach with tears in his eyes, who'd stayed up all night with me when I had the flu, who'd surprised me with flowers for no reason, who'd made me laugh and feel loved and feel safe. Was he still in there somewhere? Or had that version of Marcus never really existed? Had I just seen what I wanted to see, believed what I wanted to believe, constructed a fantasy of a relationship that was perfect and forever while Marcus had been quietly falling out of love with me? I hope you find what you're looking for. I said finally, and I meant it. Despite everything, despite the hurt and anger and devastation, I meant it. Because loving someone means wanting them to be happy, even when they've destroyed you. I hope whatever you were missing with me, you find it with someone else someday. Emma... But I was already walking away, retracing our steps back toward the park entrance. I heard him call my name once, twice, but I didn't turn around. There was nothing left to say. He'd said he didn't love me anymore, and I'd heard him, and that was the end of the story we'd been writing together. I pulled out my phone as I walked, and finally called Jennifer back. She answered on the first ring. Emma, oh my God, what happened? Marcus is back at the restaurant trying to explain, but he's not making any sense, and you just ran out and... He broke up with me. I said, cutting through her panic rambling. Or he was going to at brunch in front of everyone. I couldn't let him do it like that, so I left, but he followed me and we talked, and it's over. We're over. What? Jennifer's voice went from panic to shock to fury in the span of one word. He broke up with you? At brunch? What the hell is wrong with him? He doesn't love me anymore, I said, and saying it out loud to someone else made it real in a way it hadn't been before. My voice cracked. He hasn't loved me for months, apparently, and he's been too much of a coward to tell me until now. Where are you? I'm coming to get you. Riverside Park, near the west entrance. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't move. She hung up, and I stood at the park entrance, waiting for my sister, watching people pass by with their normal lives and normal problems. And I wondered how I was going to survive this, how I was going to go home to an apartment that Marcus and I had shared, full of memories and plans and the accumulated debris of a life we'd built together. How I was going to tell our parents, our friends, everyone who'd been happy for us and excited about the wedding. How I was going to return the dress, cancel the venue, undo all the plans we'd made. How I was going to wake up tomorrow and the day after and the day after that, knowing that the future I'd been counting on had evaporated, that the person I'd thought would be beside me forever was gone. But I would survive it. I had to, because what other choice did I have? Jennifer pulled up in her car exactly 9 minutes later, and I got in without a word. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug, and I finally let myself completely fall apart, sobbing into her shoulder while she held me and whispered that it would be okay, that I would be okay. Even though we both knew it was a lie, nothing was okay. Nothing would be okay for a very long time. But at least I didn't have to face it alone. Part 4, the aftermath. Jennifer drove me back to my apartment. My apartment now, not our apartment anymore, and insisted on coming up with me. I didn't argue. The thought of walking into that space alone, confronting all the reminders of Marcus and what we'd been, felt impossible. When we opened the door, the first thing I noticed was how quiet it was. Marcus wasn't there yet, was probably still at the restaurant or on his way home, steeling himself for the task of packing his things and leaving. The apartment looked exactly as we left it that morning. His jacket still on the back of the chair, his shoes by the door, his laptop on the coffee table. Temporary, I thought. All of it temporary now. Sit. Jennifer ordered, guided me to the couch. I'm making tea. I don't want tea. You're having tea anyway. It's what Mom always made us when we were upset, remember? She disappeared into the kitchen, and I sat on the couch. Our couch, the one we'd picked out together at IKEA, arguing good-naturedly about whether to get the gray or the navy blue, and stared at nothing. I felt hollowed out, emptied, like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left just a shell. My phone was buzzing constantly. Texts from Jennifer's husband asking if I was okay. Texts from friends who'd apparently heard something was wrong. A text from Marcus's mother that just said, "Call me, please." I couldn't deal with any of it. I turned the phone off and set it face down on the coffee table. Jennifer returned with 2 mugs of tea, pressed one into my hands, and sat down beside me. For a few minutes, we just sat in silence, sipping tea I couldn't taste, listening to the sound of the building. Someone's footsteps in the apartment above, a dog barking somewhere, the distant wail of the siren. "Tell me everything," Jennifer said finally. "From the beginning." So I did. I told her about the last few weeks, the distance I'd felt growing between Marcus and me, the way he'd stopped touching me, stopped talking about the wedding, stopped meeting my eyes. The dinner at his parents' house, where he disappeared to the bathroom for 20 minutes. The morning's awkward coffee and his insistence on telling me whatever he needed to say at brunch, in public. I told her about the car ride, about Marcus's confession that he'd been feeling like he was going through the motions, that the wedding felt like a play he was acting in instead of his real life, about how he didn't know when he'd stopped loving me, just that he had. And I told her about Rachel, the colleague he befriended, the conversations that had apparently been easier than talking to me, the realization that he didn't feel excited about our future the way Rachel felt excited about hers. "I want to kill him," Jennifer said when I finished. Her voice was calm, matter-of-fact, which somehow made it more frightening. "I want to actually kill him, with my bare hands." "Don't," I said tiredly. "It's not worth it. He was going to break up with you at brunch, at the garden room, your favorite place, in front of me, and God knows who else was in that restaurant. Who does that? Someone who doesn't know how to handle difficult conversations," I said. "Someone who's a coward." "That's too kind a word for what he is," Jennifer muttered. Then, more gently, how are you? And don't say fine. Don't give me the brave face. How are you really? I thought about it. Try to put words to the chaos of emotion swirling inside me. I feel numb and angry and heartbroken and humiliated and relieved. Relieved that it's over. I admitted that I don't have to keep pretending everything's okay when I can feel it falling apart. That I don't have to marry someone who doesn't love me. But mostly I just feel lost. Like I don't know who I am without him. Without us. We've been together for 4 years. I'm 30 years old, and I feel like I'm starting over from scratch. You're not starting from scratch, Jennifer said firmly. You're starting from experience. There's a difference. Thank you for watching. This is only the beginning. Part 2 reveals what happens after everything falls apart. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss it.